morning and happy Feel Good Financial Friday on the 7th day of October 2022. I'm your host, George Kroustalis, and with me, as always, my co-hosts extraordinaire, Kim Lancial, financial literacy consultant, and Sam Castellan, our real estate development and crypto experts. We're back. Yes, we had some issues with some international travel, Wi-Fi issues. I'm sure you've all experienced that before. And also the deadly Hurricane Ian, which hit the west coast of Florida late last week. So we are back. Glad to be back. It's been an interesting few weeks. Let's start off with what happened today. We had Jobs Friday. As you know, the first Friday of every month is Jobs Friday, when the Department of Labor releases its numbers for the previous month. And at first glance, you would say, wow, those are great numbers. In the month of September, 263,000 jobs were created. Unemployment actually fell to 3.5%. Well, they are good numbers for a growing economy, but they're not great numbers when we're worried about the Fed and trying to cool the economy with these relentless Fed rate hikes that we have seen the last 7 months. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but we're in an environment where good news is bad news. A colleague asked me this morning, George, we had a great jobs number. Why is the market down, selling off down 400 or 500 points on the Dow? Well, it's because it's interpreted as good numbers, which means good economy, strong economy, and the Fed means it will probably be raising rates maybe on the more aggressive side, continue their hawkish stance. So we shall see, but that's where we stand. This week, though, we are on pace, unless we have a disaster today, we are on pace to have the first up week in the last 4. September just ended brutally bad. We were down, close to 9% on the S&P for the month. It's historically the worst month of the year, and it did live up to the hype. So it was tough. And I look back at the notes, and, mid-September, we were discussing a 10-year yield. That's the 10-year Treasury yield, approaching 3.25%. Remember, the old June highs were 3.5%, and a 30-year fixed mortgage back over 6.2%. Well, late last week, that 10-year yield approached 4%. We got as high as 3.98%. By the way, that's the highest since 2007. And the 30-year fixed mortgage got over 7%, and that made the headlines around the country the next day, because that is also a multi-year high in interest rates. So with the cost of capital increasing for all of us, that's revolving debt, that's debt that you're borrowing. Kim, why don't you let us know how that impacts one's budget and what steps we may be able to take?
Absolutely. So I think the most important thing right now is really people to look at their budgets and really understand the breakdown of the categories and what percentage of your income should go towards each one of these categories. So rest assured, we are going to have these breakdowns in the descriptions of this video. So I just want to make sure people understand that they don't have to take quick notes here. So the biggest chunk of everyone's budget is housing. So the majority of people end up spending around 35% of their budget on their housing. But keep in mind that some of the cities that are really expensive to live into, it can actually go upwards of 50%. So when you're talking about inflation and when you're talking about individuals not being able to make it, now you understand what is actually happening, because we all have to live. We don't want to be in a situation where we're not in a good housing situation. So the next one would be food. So that is basically, that's not discretionary spending. These are not restaurants. This is what you purchase and the rest, what you purchase when you go grocery shopping. So that's 10 to 20% of your income. The people that spend 20% of it on that are people maybe that they don't go out so much. So they're able to spend more on the food that they cook at home. Clothing is anywhere from 3 to 5%. Some of us consider that discretionary spending, but you have to keep that in mind that we all have to replace things every once in a while. So discretionary spending in itself, that's the fun stuff that we get to do. 5, 10% should go towards that. Now we're looking at debt payments. Debt's actually going up. We're all aware of that. So it usually is around 5 to 7%, but now during, times like this, it's upwards
Much
of
higher. Yeah,
people,
much
yeah,
higher.
15% upwards. And then utilities, that kind of, is usually stays around 5%. And transportation, just depending on what kind of transportation you have, can be 15 to 20%. Medical expenses, that is, it's changing now for some seniors because they're getting, they're getting breaks every once right now, and they can go 5 to 10%. So you have to think about seniors. They're the ones that are going to be using more medical than the younger people in our audiences. And savings, we're kind of hoping that, we can get 5 to 10% of savings. I actually looked it up during the beginning of the pandemic. We had 35% savings rate.
Yes, we did.
That was amazing. That was amazing. It's back down to around 5 to 7%. So kind of keep all that in mind, that it's tough to make a budget work with rising prices, the decline of the purchasing power. It's tough right now. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we talk about budgets, these uncomfortable conversations all the time. And she was saying her transportation had actually gone up 12.4%, probably because of gas, right? And her medical insurance had gone up 4.6%. She's breaking this down. She's really good about this, and has these conversations. Student loans stay the same because she didn't have to pay anything, right? The moratorium was in place. And actually she owns a co-op, so her maintenance went up 5%. And her internet costs, that's part of her utilities, 12%. So that's just sort of an idea of that. We know we're all paying more right now for everything, but it's really important to truly understand the breakdowns of where your money should go.
I think everything you mentioned, every category initially, especially if you're renting, because rents, were up 12 to 16% year over year, depending on where you were. But housing, if you're renting, food, let's not kid ourselves. The cost of food is much higher than it was in 2019, whether you're eating eggs or chicken. Everything you mentioned, except for clothes, probably is at a much higher rate. Now, the good news is, gasoline prices did hit this year's peak back in May, June. They have, come down a bit, but it costs more out there. Bottom line.
It does.
Sam, Sam went on an exciting conference. He was telling us about out west, and he is going to fill us in a little more on that. Sam.
Thank you, George. Yeah, I was precisely trying to run away from the hurricane last week. So I had the chance to fly back to California for a few days, and I was invited to the Entrepreneurship and Startup World Cup, and that was such an interesting event. Basically, it was like being in this conference where a bunch of entrepreneurs, young people, were presenting their concepts and their companies, and there were people from all around the world. Very interesting. So it was basically being in Shark Tank, where people were presenting their companies and ideas. There were some investors, bidding on them, and there was actually Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary over there. I had the chance to actually interact with Sandra Lopez, who is the CMO from Microsoft. So it was definitely interesting. So why don't we just take a look at what happened last week, George? So today we're here at the Startup World Club in San Francisco, in the heart of Silicon Valley, and we're gonna go and check out everything that the new startup millennials have to offer. So let's go check it out.
Hi, my name is Oleg. I'm the founder of Mana, and Mana is an interactive 3D streaming platform that enables user-animated content.
Hi, my name is Rene Ponce and I'm the founder of People Manager. Did you know that more than 300 million supplier quality processes are executed in automotive in the US every year? And 68% of those are made using Excel spreadsheets and email. This is inefficient and prone to error. That's why we created People Manager, a solution that
customers, including the largest retailer in Germany. They scoured the world for the best technology and found Autonomo. We've built autonomous stores, we've built autonomous cars, and we've run multi-billion-dollar supermarkets.
We're back to basic questions, which is what is the problem I'm trying to solve that I think I can solve better than somebody else, right? What is my differentiation? What's my goal?
Awesome videos, for sure. Thank you for sharing that with us and our viewers alike. So again, we mentioned early October, the start of the fourth quarter, a very busy quarter in a lot of ways for a lot of activity, business, and of course, social, with Halloween, Thanksgiving, and the holidays right around the corner. This time of year always flies by, but we will be here guiding you every Friday for the rest of the year, giving you the 30,000-foot view on the current financial landscape and a little more. With that, we will send off on this Friday. Thank you for joining us, and please remember to subscribe, like, and share. That's how the good word gets out. With that, happy Friday. Adios.